going to eat my food and get my content and not worry about what anyone else around me thinks, because what they think about me is none of my business. Hi friends, welcome back to my 30-day series on how to become a food content creator in 2025. If you're new here, my name is Alicia. Please go back and watch the rest of the videos in the series. I've been doing content creation for several years. I'm giving you all the tea on how to get into it in 2025 the easy way. If you're joining us from yesterday's video, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how to film in public without feeling awkward. And I realize that I'm speaking from a bit of a privileged space because I live in Los Angeles and everyone films in public here. And it's just not very uncommon to see somebody creating content as you're driving down the street. However, I'm from St. Louis, and when I go home to St. Louis and set up my camera, I do tend to get looks. So I know how you feel. I'm going to give you 5 ways to create content if you're in a city where people give you looks so that you don't feel as awkward. The first thing you can do is make sure you have a small tripod. So if you're trying to get like a faraway shot, take your giant tripod and just stop caring what people think about you. But if you're gonna film in a restaurant, the easiest way to do that is with a compact table tripod. If you haven't watched the video on the essential equipment for becoming a food content creator, please go back and watch that video. It shows exactly what kind of tripod I'm talking about. You want something that sits on the table that allows you to just kind of take up the space in your immediate vicinity, right? You're just taking up the real estate on your table and you're not disrupting the flow of traffic around it. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing you can do if you forget your selfie stick, you don't have a mini tripod, is to prop your phone up on a cup. It feels less awkward than setting up that giant tripod. And if you want to be more discreet about your filming, setting your phone up on a cup or a napkin stand or whatever is available on the table is a great way to get your content without drawing a bunch of attention to yourself. The second thing you're going to do is film during off hours where there's only 3 or 4 people in there, or maybe there's 6 or 7 other diners, but it's not a full dining room, so you don't necessarily feel as awkward with all those eyes on you. You'll also feel less pressure to give up the table because they're trying to turn it over. If it's not busy, you can take your time and eat and get your shots and not be worried about if you're preventing somebody else from sitting down. Third thing you're gonna do, and this is gonna instantly make you feel better, is to ask the establishment if it's okay to film. So I do not film in anyone's restaurant or diner or cafe without asking if it's okay to film, because you want to make sure that you at least have the support of the staff in the event that some douchebag comes and tries to get in your face about filming. And I've never had anybody get in my face about filming, but I've certainly had people make snide comments. And if I know the establishment said I can film, I'm gonna film my content. And so make sure that you're getting permission from the hostess, from the waitress, from the cashier if you're at a cafe, wherever you're going. Talk to somebody who works in that business and just say, hey, is it okay if I film? They're probably gonna ask you, are you a blogger? And you're gonna say yes, and then they might give you some free stuff. But if you don't ask and you just set up your camera and then things get awkward and you don't have anybody in the restaurant who told you you could do that, well, now they're even more awkward. So ask someone who works there if it's okay to film. They're 99.9% of the time going to tell you yes, unless you're in some kind of a members only private club, in which case your phone shouldn't be out anyway, right? Right. Okay. The fourth thing that's going to make it a little bit less overwhelming is to try to get a seat against a wall. Now, you're not necessarily always going to be able to do that because you can't really control where you sit in a restaurant all the time. But if there's a way for you to get a seat with your back to the wall so that when you set up your camera, it is just on you and not on the people behind you, that's always an ideal scenario, because there's less likelihood then that someone might get up and say, hey, I don't want to be on your camera, which is fine. Nobody was recording you anyway. But if you can, get a seat against a wall. The last thing I'm going to tell you to get over filming in public is kind of very much my energy, and I want you to adopt this for yourself. You don't know these people. You're never going to see them again. In fact, the only time you might see them again is in your content. Record your content, babe. Do not let the eyes and lips of naysayers distract you and discourage you from doing what it is that you want to do. If you decide that you want to film, go to the restaurant and film. And be awkward and take some deep breaths, take some box breaths. Do a 4 in and a hold for 6 and a 4 or 5 out. I'm not exactly sure what the counts on the box breaths are, but do some box breaths if you're feeling very anxious about it. But get your content. You don't know these people. You don't owe them anything. You don't have to impress them. You don't have to acquiesce to their demands. Nobody can tell you can't record content unless it's the establishment itself, in which case, yes, put your camera away. But if you go in somewhere and you decide to set up your camera, the people around you at the restaurant don't have nothing to do with that. I want to be super clear about this. Deciding that you don't know these people and you're gonna do what you want to do anyway is going to save you a lot of heartache and wondering what people think about you in the long run. Because there are so many things in this life that we will prevent ourselves from doing. We'll talk ourselves out of doing. We'll overthink doing because we're worried about what the next person is gonna think. And 9 times out of 10, and if they give you flack about it, you can say, oh, well, I asked the establishment and they said it was okay to record. And if they tell you they don't want to be on your video, tell them you're not on my video and keep it pushing. But do not let these people discourage you from following your dreams. It's your content. So shoot your content and stop worrying about what other people think about you. These massive creators that you see, they're not worried about what people think about them when they take their camera out at the restaurant. They're gonna get their content. And I want you to adopt the same philosophy. I'm going to eat my food and get my content and not worry about what anyone else around me thinks, because what they think about me is none of my business. If you have not watched the rest of the videos in the series, please go back and watch those. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and come back tomorrow. I'm going to tell you how to get noticed by brands. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.